Nope. Nope. Hi, I'm Jalen. I'm a part-time family physician and full-time mom to 3. My husband and I live in the Pacific Northwest. Today, as my very first debut on YouTube, quite frankly, I hate being in front of the camera, but this is a new experiment and I figured, why not? Everybody's doing it. All the cool kids are, and clearly I'm not one of them. We were going to cover probiotics. There's a big hype in the media about them. They're making rare and bold claims like curing cancer and helping you lose weight and making you the healthiest you've ever been. So I figured that I would dispel some of those myths with some scientific and evidence-based facts. And then, although I can't give individual medical advice, I can give sweeping recommendations that are based on science. So here we go. So yesterday, like a rare, extinct bird sighting, I had an opportunity to go to Target by myself with no kids. I'm going to show you some footage from that in a minute. I went over some of the most popular probiotic brands, both for kids and adults, and we're going to talk about those. But first, I want you to know what probiotics are. The World Health Organization and our FDA here in the United States has deemed probiotics living bacteria that evoke a positive effect on the host. Now, honestly, that description is super vague and a little non-specific in the sense that positive health effect on the host could be a very wide variety of things. So what does the science say probiotics actually have been proven to do? Now, let me just give a quick caveat. Even 10 years ago, no one really was talking about the gut microbiome, but the whole concept of a gut microbiome is actually fairly new in medical science, and it's really reached popular culture because of news headlines, like most things do. So what is the deal with probiotics? I have to explain first that all of us have a very wide array of bacteria that typically live on us. They live in our mouth, in our hair, on our skin, in our guts, in our stool, our poop, in our urine, and this is a good thing. Popular news media and probiotics, generally speaking, and their advertisers have kind of capitalized on this theory, telling people really that if we can add more diverse bacteria to your repertoire, if you will, then probably you're going to be healthier. Your immune system's going to work better. And this isn't necessarily true, although, dang, I wish it was, because that would be really convenient. Essentially what we found, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. There was a great review done about what we know about probiotics and what they have been proven to do. I'll link the PubMed article, and you can pay for a full text subscription if you would like. But it was done in 2019, which is this year, and essentially it showed that probiotics have been proven to do a limited number of things. Now, I will say that research is constantly happening, and I would suspect that that list will expand in the near future. So essentially at this point in time, this is what you should know. Number 1, not everyone needs a probiotic. If you're eating a diverse array of foods, including mostly vegetables, there's a good chance your guts are functioning just fine on their own without any help. Number 2, not all probiotics are created equal. Please, please, please pay attention to the probiotics you are consuming and see if you can challenge it online with studies, etc. See how much it's been studied. I like to use consumerlabs.com or labdoor.com. I have no affiliation with them, but they seem to be a fairly reasonable FDA-approved lab that does independent analysis on the quality and purity of products that are sold over the counter. This obviously cannot be all-encompassing, but they do include things like protein powders, prenatal vitamins, vitamin D supplements, and lo and behold, probiotics. It's a great place to go if you're needing somewhere to start. There are many supplement brands that have a very good reputation, but I would encourage you to look at where they're being manufactured and whether or not the manufacturing is very open in what they're sharing. And lastly, number 3, please consult your healthcare provider if you're having adverse effects or negative effects from the probiotics you've started. Too many probiotics or not enough probiotics in the case of where they're recommended from your healthcare provider can actually cause some very negative side effects: belching, gas, bloating, GI upset, diarrhea, constipation. So let's go to Target. It's a fun place to begin with. I might have spent way too long there, and let's see what we found. So I'm here in the Digestive Health aisle in Target, and unfortunately out of a couple of these, but I'm gonna just kind of wing it and show you some of the things that are here, and we're gonna talk about each of them. Come on. So interestingly, they have this labeled as women's health and digestion. There is no difference in probiotic supplements for women or for men. There is a difference, however, in supplementation for kids because of the concentration of the healthy bacteria. If you give kiddos too much, their little guts can't handle it. All right, guys, first up, so these are digestive probiotic gummies, ultra strength. Isn't this nice? They gave you a $1 coupon too for the $15.99 price tag. So there are not a whole lot of studies on gummy probiotics, unfortunately. And if you look on the label, which you should be doing on every one of these, it says Bacillus coagulans IS2. Now I'm going to show you a couple other examples, but this IS2 right here is really key. This is the substrain of bacteria. There's 8 billion CFUs, which is a pretty good number. But let's take a look at the other ingredients. Glucose syrup, not so great. Sugar, also not so great if you're trying to keep your guts healthy. So I generally don't recommend probiotic gummies. If you guys have seen beneficial studies for these that are actually scientific in nature, please let me know because they are delicious. Also, you're gonna read this and be like, wow, that's amazing. Prebiotic and probiotic. Prebiotic is a fiber. And again, if we look at the ingredients, it's added dietary fiber. So this runs at $18.99 for 2 capsules, and the prebiotic fiber essentially is not really doing anything. You can get this in food, you can buy some flaxseed, you can get magnesium in other supplements. So all that you really are wanting is this probiotic, and unfortunately there's only one of them in there. 8 million viable cells though, but Bacillus coagulans, and again, GBI 30, 60, 86. You guys should be Googling these with every probiotic purchase. I got caught by one of the employees. This is actually really embarrassing. So this is another good one. I've actually not seen this brand before, but if we look, what are you up for? Kind of cool packaging. So check this out. Lactobacillus plantarum acidophilus, that's a very common one. Bifidobacterium rhamnosus, Paracasei, breve, casei, and you see all of these. Every probiotic you buy, they should be reporting the substrain of what's contained. When they do scientific studies, these substrains are the ones that are studied, not the general bacteria. Note to self, don't go to Target and try to film the video when it's Halloween, because there's literally talking Halloween decorations all over the place. Okay, there was a stock employee that came and stood right next to me, so I felt a little awkward, but moving on. So again, this is an what are you up for brand. So this is interesting. We live in a fairly small town at this point. There are some studies that support that taking a probiotic for women who have chronic or recurrent vaginal or gynecologic issues could potentially be beneficial, and that would be something to talk with your own provider about. This is not exactly what I was looking for, but there is a probiotic, I'll link it below, called Femdophilus, and that actually has been cited in quite a few studies about women's health in particular and bacterial vaginosis. So this supplement contains cranberry powder, which the jury is still kind of out on in regard to urinary tract prevention. Most of the studies that have been done have been inconclusive. There is some evidence on a in vitro, not in vivo. So in other words, there is some evidence that in the lab, not necessarily translating to real life, that cranberry, blueberry, and pomegranate contain compounds that can help prevent bacteria from adhering to the bladder wall. Now this contains cranberry, and it also contains these probiotics, which are very similar to what are in Femdophilus. So I can't necessarily promote buying this for the cranberry itself, but it is kind of an interesting concept. And since I don't have access to Femdophilus here, I always have to order it on Amazon, or recommend that my patients order it on Amazon. If you are at a Target, this might be a reasonable alternative, but again, ask your own healthcare provider attention to. But Culturelle, traditionally in studies, has been studied for diarrhea. The kids actually was only studied in constipation and diarrhea. So Culturelle, widely across studies for a few years now, has been the only brand name probiotic to be studied in children, but none of them have been studied in kiddos under 6 months, to my knowledge, extensively at least. There certainly are some limited studies. So Culturelle is a fairly dependable brand for kids. It is regulated by the FDA because it was prescription only at first. It's what a lot of hospitals use. And you know, again, the #1 pediatrician recommended brand. I can't necessarily say that with full confidence, but again, this is the ingredient that you want to be paying attention to. Target did have a generic. I'm sure there's other generics that are out there. And just a friendly reminder, though, that any generic companies are not regulated by the FDA. So something to think about. I do like that this is in packets. So personally, again, not medical advice, but when we started our kids, if they've needed probiotics for any reason, a gastrointestinal bug, like a tummy bug, or, you know, with Lydian when she was over 6 months of age with constipation, I like that these are in packets so that I can kind of dose out accordingly the amount of probiotic that they may need and not give them a whole packet right at first. And last but not least, Culturelle Baby. Now, you guys, I don't know what I think about this. So I do think that there's potential. Again, this is Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG, fairly obvious because it's made by Culturelle. Align just came out with the kids as well, but I don't know why Target doesn't carry Align. So that's another one to pay attention to. Now, there are babies that are born via C-section that don't get that natural colonization of gut bacteria. So it would be something to talk with your provider about, that if your kiddo was under the age of 6 months and was born via cesarean section for whatever reason, that it may help kind of populate their gut bacteria. Now, so in summary, there's 3 things that I want you to pay attention to when you're shopping for probiotics. #1, shop the vegetable aisle first. There's no reason to be spending money on probiotics if your diet or the food that you're eating doesn't come first. Food first, food first, food first. #2, I want you to pay attention to the reputation of the company that's producing it. Like we said earlier, the FDA does not regulate the supplement industry, and a company that has a bad reputation that's producing the probiotic should be one that you approach with much doubt. #3, the quality of the probiotic itself does matter. Higher CFU counts are typically more often beneficial for people with complete wipeout situations. Essentially, this means that if you've been on a very strong antibiotic or a long course of antibiotics, if you've been hospitalized for a long period of time, or if you have very poor gut bacteria to begin with, a higher colony count or bacterial count could be more beneficial. For most of us, if we're taking them for very subtle symptoms, or if you end up being one of those people who feels like they benefit from taking it on a daily basis, having a higher colony count probably is not doing you any better. The second thing to pay attention to, as far as the quality of the actual probiotic, is the micronized capsules or powders. Micronized essentially means that it can survive your gut tract. I get the question a lot, should I buy a refrigerated probiotic, a shelf-stable probiotic? And we used to think that refrigerated was better. This isn't always the case. If the capsules are shelf-stable and micronized, which it should say on the back of the box, along with a wide diversity of probiotic substrains that are reported, like I said earlier, the micronized strain should be as effective as a refrigerated version. Well, there you go. Hopefully that was helpful and informative. And if you take nothing else away from this, please know that if you are eating a diverse diet full of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, if you can tolerate them, there's a good chance your guts are doing just fine. Go buy some vegetables, save that money on probiotics unless they've been specifically recommended by your healthcare provider. Let me know what questions you have below. Bye.